we don't want 1,000 people on day one showing up at a retail store that should, by fire code, maybe only hold 100 or 200 people. So we want to make sure that we have the right proportion of people in the right boxes of retail establishments. So we want to make sure that's covered in here too. And a lot of other municipalities throughout the state and throughout the country are looking at different formulas to make sure that we have the right amount of people in that space. So we've taken those things into account. As you go through the report, please let us know if you have any questions as you go through this. I know you don't know it right now, but we're available after this to talk about any of these issues. So if you have any questions for us, we'll be able to take those.
Tim mentioned the difference, the main points of contention may be on the timeline as opposed to the substance. What is your timeline?
The timeline all starts when the county executive decides to implement the plan. In this plan you'll see here today.
For a time?
Well, we had
wait beyond mid-May?
That's a good question. Basically, we decided just to have a date in time that this would start on the 3rd of May. If it doesn't, then we're pushed off a week and a week and a week. But we had to show them how this would carry out over the course of the month of May. If they were to adopt this for a Monday opening or a Monday start, which I don't think they're ready for that, but if they were, this plan would end the first week of June, the way it's phased in. So whenever they start, the quicker we'll get this over with.
Yeah, maybe I can add to that. So our plan would allow, just to simplify it, on May 4th. So we're talking about Monday. May 4th, the governor said the rest of the state's going to open. We'll let local governments do what they want to do. What we're suggesting to the county executive is that he allow retail stores, for example, and commercial businesses to open on Monday, May 4th, with some restrictions on numbers of people that are allowed to be there. We doubt that he will allow that to happen. And remember, we have no control. All we can do is suggest what he does. We can't tell him he has to do anything. We can't force him to do anything. He declared the state of emergency. He gets to keep the state of emergency in effect as long as he wants to, and he gets to decide when to lift it or to change the state of emergency guidelines. All we could do, like we did with him this morning, is suggest to take this plan, look at it seriously, and implement it. And that's when he made the comment, to answer your question, Andy, about we might agree on the substance, we probably won't agree on the timeline.
You mentioned that both of you represent 140,000 people. And that's a mass number. That's a lot. When you also have a Councilman Trakas, that's like maybe 380,000. My math is bad. But some people may think that the three members of the council kind of represent like a vote minority because the county is so democratic, and what you may want to do now is not really what the will of the rest of the county is. I want you both to respond to this, not only for this plan, but the other things you've been advocating for.
Well, I guess I don't agree with your premise. We represent all the people of St. Louis County, not just the people of our districts. I will tell you, we've been barraged with emails and phone calls and personal appearances by a lot of residents all over St. Louis County encouraging us to open up the county, and especially on this issue. Last week, the issue was oversight of the money coming in for the COVID stimulus. So we're talking to people are talking to us. The times seem to be switching. 6-8 weeks ago, people were saying shut down the county, be safe, do the distancing things. We've done that, and now the emails and the communications are flipping. People are saying we're done with this. We need to open up. We can do it safely. We know how to act. We know how to interact with people. We know how to be socially distant with people, and that should be enough. And so we're just kind of responding to the will of the people of St. Louis County at this point by coming up with a plan. And the vacuum, we're trying to fill a vacuum because right now there isn't a plan, and people are getting frustrated with that, and indefinite is not something you can take to the bank. And if you're a business owner and your bank is saying, are you going to be here next week or next month or next year? Well, we're all waiting for Mr. Page to make a decision. That doesn't fly with a lot of bankers. So we got to make sure that we can give that light at the end of the tunnel to both our residents and to the people of that are business owners in this community, both big and small.
Do you feel like they should be looking to some of the mayors, like in Eureka, or maybe even some of the other cities that are just deciding that their businesses and people are not subject to the county order anymore?
I think there's a frustration out there, and you're going to see that this weekend, I believe, and next week as the governor's orders go into place. People that we were talking about that earlier today. If you have a business that's on the border between Jefferson County and St. Louis County, you know, you're open over here, but you're closed over here. So those kind of issues are going to come up, and they're going to wonder why I can't be in business when my competitor down the street or a mile away is. And those kind of issues are going to come up both in St. Louis County, St. Charles, Jefferson County, and the like.
Do you think it's okay for them to open?
I think it's up to them what they want to do. I mean, there are some legal penalties involved in the current emergency situation. Those people that choose to open up against that they need to make sure that they are familiar with that and are willing to take those consequences.
Well, should the county prosecute them for doing that?
No.
I spoke to Dr. Page yesterday or 2 days ago, and he had said that this is going to be our new normal in terms of social distancing and everything for probably the next 2 years. What do you have to say to people who are just really kind of getting these conflicting messages right now?
There are a lot of conflicting messages out there, and that's why we came up with a plan. People are making up things as we're standing here, I'm sure. And then when the governor decides what he wants to do, that is confusing as well. So we're trying to help people understand where we can go. Now, this will go nowhere if Dr. Page decides not to go with it, because we don't have the political clout to enforce this or to make this a reality. It's up to him to decide if he wants to make this a reality or not.
And then 60% of the cases are in the St. Louis County and St. Louis City area. You know, I appreciate the plan that you guys have, but playing devil's advocate here, what if we were to reopen too soon and some things were to happen? Would you reverse, go back on that? How would that work?
I'm glad you asked that. One of the provisions we have in the plan, because it is a weekly phased approach, that if something, if we have a spike in cases or something goes wrong in the way they're counting, they could stop this phase-in process with just an announcement. So we could stay at phase 1 for a couple weeks if we had to, until things were under control before we moved to phase 2. So we give them that flexibility to do those type of things. This isn't a one size fits all type of situation. That's a good question.
Can I add something to your question? Are you all confused at the numbers you're seeing from the pandemic task force and the state? Are you confused at those numbers? Or are you pretty clear with them? I think you'd probably agree.
We're confused.
That everybody's confused by them. One of the questions that I asked that we still don't have answered, if a person lives in Arnold in Jefferson County and they go to the hospital in South County at Mercy South Hospital and they have COVID, do they count as a St. Louis County case now? Or are they a Jefferson County case? We've got it all over the place where it's all over. I know you feel probably comfortable that they are not. The answers that we have is maybe they are, maybe they aren't, depending who's counting and what number you're looking at.
Or if they pass away.
So we don't know in some respects. I do believe the science. I do believe COVID-19 is absolutely horrible. I believe that. People are dying from it. There's no doubt about that. However, we think this plan will implement enough safety measures that we can open our county back up through a phased approach, and we could do it safely. And if there's a spike, it allows you to react to the spike. But to stay shut down indefinitely until there's no more COVID cases, is that really what we want in our community? I don't think so.
But for there to be a staged approach, wouldn't there have to be a series of executive orders that would replace each other?
We would hope that the county executive would do that. Would issue new orders with different restrictions, releasing some of the restrictions. That's what we are hoping he does. We heard him say this morning in our meeting this morning, we don't necessarily have to wait for testing to start reopening St. Louis County. That's the first time I've heard that. I don't know about you. But we'll let him speak for himself on that. But we did hear that this morning. We don't necessarily have to wait for testing to start reopening.
When do you expect a response from Dr. Page?
I would imagine that when we're finished here, you all are going to go to him. Right? So I would think that's what
you guys say May 4th would be ideal.
Ideal, right? To start.
That's not going to happen. Right?
That's not up to us.
But you had a meeting with the mayor.
Yes, correct.
Your feeling was that
All I can tell you is what he said is we might agree on the phased-in approach. What we may not agree on is the timeline.
But my question is, how long is too long to wait? I mean, can you guys accept another week or two?
Well, he's already
because he's
said
saying he's not going to revisit until mid-May.
What he said is it's indefinite and he will revisit till mid-May.
Right.
We're trying to get a better answer than indefinite, and we'll look at it in mid-May. Does that mean it might be August? Does that mean it might be September? I think what people need, they need some hope.
I understand. That's the whole point of this. But what are you guys pushing for?
We're pushing for.
It's not going to be May 4th. You want May 11th?
We'll take it as soon as we can get it.
Right.
That's what we're pushing for. Right now, we don't have anything.
Right.
I have a question that may be more long-term. Senator Hawley has been pushing a plan that would fund the salaries of potentially laid off workers to 80% of the median wage, which would be about $50,000. If that plan was implemented, do you think that would make stay-at-home orders easier for some of your constituents to deal with, knowing that the economic cost wouldn't be as high if they aren't laid off?
I have not seen the plan, so I don't know what you're speaking of as far as Senator Hawley's plan. How long would that go for?
Until, I guess, the COVID emergency's over.
So 2 years? Because that's what we're hearing, right? About 2 years before we think we're going to be ready for this to be over and get back to some sort of normalcy. Will that funding go till then? I don't know the answer to that because I haven't heard what his plan is.
The track record right now with funding has not been that great. We're missing a lot of money. People that are filing for unemployment, people are filing for extra money to bail them out, and that money dries up faster than they can print the forms for them to fill out. So we're in dire straits here, fellas. I mean, we're looking at least 10% unemployment today. And I was talking to some folks at a bank the other day, and they said every month that we're locked down is a year to recover this economy. So do the math. And we can't wait that long. And I think a lot of business owners I've talked to, they can't wait for the bailout. They just want a fighting chance. Open us up. Let us fight back. We're scrappy people. Let them fight back and let them get their business back to where it was 6-8 weeks ago, because they know it and their customers are loyal and they want those people. And this isn't about sandwich shops and hair care salons, okay? This is big time. We're seeing layoffs at Enterprise today. We're seeing layoffs at Boeing. We're seeing layoffs in the hotel and restaurant industry. This is a trickle effect that's going across the whole economy, and it's going to affect everybody, including you guys, at some point in time if we keep going down this path. We need to step back. Let's open up the county, do it responsibly, do it safely, and give people a fighting chance to survive.
So history tells us that when we do open too early, we see second spike, a lot of times worse than the first. We luckily have the capacity for the hospitals this time, but what makes you think that this would be different from what we've seen in the past historically?
Well, that's going to be an issue with the health department and working with us on this plan, and we'll work with them to help monitor that. That's why we give them a stop and start time. If they think the numbers are going the wrong direction, we can stop where we are in this plan.
But when the damage has been done, right?
But the damage has been done for the last 8 weeks as well. So we've figured out how to do this, and every day that we go on, the American people have figured out how to deal with this, and we're much better at it than we were 8 weeks ago. And we've learned to social distance. I've never even heard that term before until the last 8 weeks. We're learning to work through these plans, and we have to give people the right to work through these plans. To shut people down in their homes unnecessarily and to let businesses go to zero is not responsible either. So there's got to be a balance, and that's the balance hopefully we'll work with the administration on.
Do you think your message, not only today, but on the oversight that you mentioned earlier, the vote that was out on Tuesday, do you think that that's breaking through to ordinary people?
Oh, definitely.
Explain why.
Definitely. Well, I don't want to take all this. Especially the oversight. I mean, we got tons of emails and phone calls on the oversight that we shouldn't give that up, that it's our duty as elected officials not to give that up. The people that are going to be making those decisions are not elected officials. This is your tax money and my tax money. Some people think, well, it's federal money, that's somebody else's money. This is all of our money, and we got to make sure we spend it properly. And there will be some needs, and we want to make sure those needs are being met for the sake of other needs, and we want to make sure that the right resources are in the right place. But right now, we're not going to have a say over that, and in any way. And if there is some, we hope not, but if the money goes to the wrong needs or the wrong resources, we're not going to have a say over it, and it's going to be very hard for us to correct that, and it will be wasted on some other program. So we hope that doesn't happen, because for our sake and for the sake of the people that money helps, but we want to make sure we're also looking out for the taxpayer who are funding those resources as well.
I couldn't agree more. I have really nothing to add to that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
All right. Thank you all very much for coming out.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
I have no more.
Anybody else? Everybody get a copy?
No, I didn't.
Did we start early? No, I thought we started late. Did we start afternoon?
Well, we got here like 8 minutes or 6 minutes too.
Oh, well,
It was
I thought.
11. I saw 11:58.
All right. Sorry about that. What didn't you get? You don't know what you didn't get, right?